In this lesson, we'll talk about subdivision levels in Cinema 4D. So the key to our sculpting process here in Cinema 4D are the subdivision levels. And so what those are, if you're familiar with other sculpting applications like ZBrush or Mudbox, then you're probably familiar with subdivision levels. It's basically levels of divisions or smoothing that you can go up and down and sculpt on. Let's see what that looks like. So with our little creature creature mesh here, let's go ahead and I'm going to turn on lines so that we can see the wireframe here. So this is again that basic mesh. Now it already has a sculpt tag, so let's go ahead and just hit subdivide one more time. So we've hit it once, we've got the sculpt tag here. Let's see what happens when we actually subdivide this mesh. So let's go ahead and subdivide it once. So you can see now that we've actually done two things. We've added more resolution, so we've added for every quad, we've added 4 quads instead of the 1, so we've subdivided it in both directions. So we've added resolution, and we've also smoothed the shape, so it's gotten smoother and smoother. Let's go ahead and subdivide again. So you can see, same thing happened. All of the new polygons, the new quads, have been split into 4 quads, okay? So now, this is fine. What if we just added a hypernerve so we get the same thing? That's true, but now we can go up and down the levels, and we can sculpt on whatever level we happen to be on. So right now, we are on the highest level, okay? So we'll go into our sculpting layers. You can see here that we're at level 2. You get this indication here. You also, up at the top, get an indication of not only which level you're on, but also how many levels there are total, okay? So we are on level 2 of 2. You can see our polygon count and how much memory it's taking. So to go back down to the lowest level, we can hit this decrease button. You can see now we're on level 1 of 2. This indicates level 1 as well. We can decrease again, and you can see that gets grayed out down here because now we're at the lower level. This is where we started. Okay. We can also change our levels by changing this slider. Okay. And clicking the arrows, we can go up and down the levels. Okay. So you start to think about these levels, think about the changes that you'd want to make to the model. So in some cases, you think, okay, I want to really change the overall shape a lot. Well, maybe that can be done at this level. But now I want to sculpt in some muscles. Okay, the muscles, maybe you don't have enough polygons here at this level, but you can sculpt in muscles maybe at this level. You can start to block those in. And so you're starting to think in that way of what detail can I add at this level? Okay, I can't add any more detail. Let's go to another level so that I can add more detail and work with it that way. You can always go back down to lower levels as you go, okay? Now you can see if I want to go back up, I can also hit increase here. When I'm at the top level, I can hit subdivide again. So again, subdivides it again. Now we're at 3 of 3, and now we can go down here. So you can see we're starting with 366 polygons. At our top level, level 3, we're at 23,000 polygons. So you can really go crazy if you want to and start to really subdivide that, and it's going to get really, really dense. And we're looking at just about 375,000 at level 5, and you can really start to get some finer detail getting up into this range. Now, it's not usually beneficial to be able to see the wireframe once you start to get up to this level, okay, because it starts just getting so dense. Now, one thing that I do want to show you is, let me go in here. I'm actually select this sculpt tag, and let me actually go back into the sculpting layers and show you this. So we're at level 0 here. We can go back to layers and we can say I want to delete higher levels. It's going to say, are you sure you want to delete? And so then you can see that I've now deleted my subdivision levels. Okay, I still have the sculpt tag though. Now one thing that I want to show you also is the smoothing. And so let's go ahead and delete this sculpt tag. And we'll start again with our creature base. Before I actually add the tag, I'm going to jump into these options. And you can only do this at the very initial stage, and that is to change the smoothness. So right now, as we talked about, it's not only adding resolution, but also smoothing the shape. But what if I didn't want to smooth the shape? What if I just wanted to add resolution? Well, you can change the smoothness slider. So right now it's set to 100, which in most cases is probably going to be what you want, is to just leave it alone and set it to 100%. But if we go ahead and set this to 0%, say OK, no subdivision levels have been added yet, But let's remember what this looked like. If you remember before, when we subdivided this, it would smooth it out, make it very, very smooth. And so let's start to subdivide now. So again, we're subdividing. The polygons are still getting subdivided, but now look what's happening. It's not doing any sort of smoothing at all. You can see the facets are still there. And if I go ahead and subdivide again, it's subdividing, but it's not smoothing out the shape. Okay? And this is something that you can't change now. You'd have to go back from the beginning and change. But you can see here that in some cases, if maybe you're doing some hard surface work or something like that, you may want that to happen. Go ahead and turn off lines. You can kind of see what that looks like. So if you get your model and you start subdividing and it sort of starts looking like this, maybe that's something you can check out and see if maybe you've accidentally set that. Okay? So if you want the smoothing and the subdivision to occur, you need to make sure that before you add your tag, you can go ahead and change the smoothness. And if you want it to just smooth a little bit, you can go anywhere in between here. I'm going to go ahead and set this back to 100%. Okay, let's go ahead and subdivide and add a few more subdivision levels. Okay, back up to maybe level 5 or so that we can actually begin doing some sculpting here. Okay, you also get an idea here. Here's the name of our object, and you can tell right here the level, so you can see what level we're on. You can see also if it has a mask painted on it, and also the strength of this layer. And we'll talk about the working with layers a little bit later. I just want to concentrate more on the actual sculpting at this point. Okay, so we've got our mesh, and we've got the sculpt tag added, and we've got some subdivision levels added. I've gone ahead and added 5 levels, and we're up to about 374,000 polygons. And so once you've got your mesh subdivided, the next thing to do would be to talk about the actual sculpting tools that we can use to modify this mesh. So in the next lesson, we'll take a look at the basic pull brush, and we'll talk about some of the basic attributes of the brushes. And a lot of these are going to be common to some of these other brushes, but we'll start with this one and talk about some of the basics, like changing our brush size and our strength and the spacing and some of the hotkeys and smoothing and some of those things that will apply to multiple brushes. Okay, so we'll go ahead and start to talk about our actual sculpting tools in the next lesson.